Hey guys, how's it going? So today I am going to show you guys my totem, Storm Totem build using the Spriggan Form and Gathering Storm combo with the Storm Totem and Thorn Totem as well. There are a couple of different variations on this build floating around, but this one is one of my own design and I'm pretty happy with it right now. It is quite honestly very powerful. I'm still busy working through corruption right now. As of me recording this, I'm at 588 corruption, basically 600 corruption. I have done a 600 basically collapsing horizon. I've done like a lot of stuff. This one I actually just recently reset. But if we look at the other places, I've done Lagon a bunch of times. So I've obviously done a 600 Lagon. And yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff that I will be showing you guys. In fact, let's jump into the boss fights so that I can show you different boss fights at different corruptions. Basically, everything you will be seeing in this video is above 500 corruption. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a Rotting Hoard boss at 509 corruption, where the enemies have 515% extra health. So the build is very simple. If you want to do a lot of damage, you put down a bunch of totems, preferably 5 totems, and then you consume them with your Storm Totem. That's really it. It's really simple. Now you can buff up your Storm Totem using the Tempest strike. So you put down these totems and they will actually buff up the Thunder Totem quite considerably. So let's start this boss and you guys will see. So you put down basically 3 totems and then you consume it. Hopefully it doesn't die. Okay, it did die, that's fine. Then you transform into Spriggan mode. Spriggan mode allows you to do a lot more damage, even though it also increases your survivability. Spriggan mode really gives you a lot more survivability. Now the Harbinger is gonna pop out because I also selected the Harbinger for this battle. So the Harbinger is also gonna get melted pretty quickly. And as you watch the health of the Harbinger, you need to remember this is 500 corruption, where the boss has 515% extra HP. So as you're watching this, just remember, this is really high corruption. And there we go. They're dead. So that's the Rotting Hoard boss at 509 corruption and a Harbinger thrown in there as well. Let's jump to the next boss. Oh yeah, by the way, before I show you any boss fights, I should probably show you the raw damage because people care a lot about raw damage. So this build can do hits of 1.7 million and upwards, and the hits come very fast. So like I said previously, you pop down 5 totems, you absorb the totems with a Storm Totem, and then you put down 3 more Tempest strike totems. From there you transform into your Spriggan form and you just spam your Thorn Totem. So this is what it looks like, and look out for the hits. You will see 1.7, I've even seen 1.8 million before, and they come really quickly. So if you can see, I just saw a 1.5 million. it's really difficult to see with the additional numbers, but you need to get the armor stacks up to as much as possible. So it's really difficult to see, but I just saw 1.6 million. So if I just do it like this, you guys might be able to see the numbers a little bit easier. Unfortunately, this game, the developers still haven't added a DPS dummy to the game, which is really idiotic in my opinion, but anyway. So 1 million, 1.1 million. Going up, 1.1 million all the way. Okay, let's try to buff it up a little bit more. 1.2 million, 1.3 million. So you can see 1.3 million hits while the dummy is at 50 armor stacks. But if we actually go max out, we can reach 200 armor stacks pretty easily. So let's just try that again. So you can see we are reaching 210 armor stacks, and yeah, like I say, you get 1.3 million hits without that many armor stacks. With that many armor stacks, you can see 1.6, 1.7 million hits. And the Storm Totem, as you can see, attacks more than once per second. It attacks really, really fast. And we have 100% crit chance, by the way. The Storm Totem has 100% crit chance. So you can see here, you always do a critical strike. So that's another really cool thing about this build. I will get into the gear a little bit later, but you have 100% crit chance on all of your totems. So anyway, 1.6, 1.7 million hits, and the hits come really, really fast. So with that out of the way, let me show you some more boss battles. Okay, so this is a Collapsing Horizon, 855 corruption, 605 times percentage health and damage. This is a really difficult one, more difficult than the previous one certainly.
Not even the gods can stand before the Void. Waves of darkness. Such a bore.
So this one throws the Lagon abilities. So you just really need to look out for the waves, because the waves do a lot of damage. You can see she just killed my totem as well.
Waves of dark.
But honestly, with this build, the survivability of your totems is really not a concern. Because if your totems die, you can just resummon them very quickly. So it's not like some minion builds that you have one big minion. Like for instance, the Wraith Lord build. I really, really like the Wraith Lord build. I played a lot of the Wraith Lord build over the past 2 months or so. But the issue with the Wraith Lord build is that if your Wraith Lord dies, you have to resummon your Wraith Lord, and then you have to buff it up again. And you have to wait for the buff to build in power. Whereas with this, you really don't need to do anything like that. You just summon 5 totems, at least 5 totems, and then you consume them, and then there you go. You do a lot of damage. And then if you want to do more damage, then you put down 3 of your Tempest Strike totems. And the totem lasts really long. I think the totem lasts something like 30 seconds. So it lasts really, really long, and it has a lot of health. By default, the totem is sitting at around 1,100 health, more or less. But it actually becomes way more powerful due to this thing over here, which allows you to basically double the health. So it is a really durable totem. Okay, let me show you guys another boss battle quickly. Okay, so this is an Antipode Rift special woven echo, and it's 509 corruption. So let me quickly show you guys this one. By the way, the range of the dragon is really, or the range of your totem is really quite impressive as well. The range is like a really, oh, I don't want to get hit by that. Ouch, the range is really, really good. I'm not sure what that ability actually does. All I know is I don't want to get hit by it. And that's a 509 Antipode Dragon. The range of your Thunder Totem is longer than the range of your screen. So literally the Thunder Totem can actually hit stuff that isn't even on your screen. I can't tell you the amount of times where I've run around on a map and then I encounter loot in an area where I haven't even been yet. That is from your Thunder Totem, and the hits of your Thunder Totem can also miss, but then it continues and it strikes another target in another area, which is really quite funny. And then probably as my final boss, I will show you a tier 4 Julra. Will show you how fast I can kill a tier 4 Julra, because that is a boss that a lot of people know how difficult it is. And yeah, I'll show you how quickly we kill her.
Escapism! Sapphire! Oh. Still so much to learn.
Yeah, so you can see we don't exactly have the damage to kill her in one phase, like literally before she transitions, because I have had builds in the past that is capable of doing that, even though those builds were bugged in some or another way, whereas this build is not bugged. But yeah, we still get pretty close to being able to kill her before she even transitions. And then you can, if you want to be a little bit riskier, you can switch, and then right as the explosion finishes, you can switch back, and that way you can do a little bit more damage. But I'm not that risky. But I think with a little bit better gear, because my gear right now is not very good, honestly. A lot of my stuff is not very good. With a little bit better gear, you will absolutely be able to kill her in a single phase without her actually transitioning. What do I want here? I've got a belt with 4, I've got gloves with 4, I've got a couple of rings with 3 that I want to do a lot of really good leveling gear. Let's take the gloves. This one fine? I think this one is fine. So I will show you guys my gear. Like, as you can see, this build with my current gear is actually too strong, quite honestly, for corruption 600. Like this gear with my current gear, my current character with my current gear can absolutely do more than 600 corruption. I just haven't had the time to push past 600 corruption yet. I just need to play the game more, and then I can get past 588 corruption very, very easily. As you can see, I'm killing the bosses really, really fast. And yeah, like honestly, there's no content in the game that is currently giving me any kind of issues, except the one. There's the one thing. Where is it? Over here, if I can show you guys. It's the one where you beat a whole bunch of dudes in a row. A whole bunch of harbingers in a row. I can't remember which one of these it is. But that one is a little bit difficult because you need to defeat 10, I think it's 10 or 8 harbingers, empowered harbingers in a row. And there's the one harbinger that does a slam attack, and that slam attack kills me outright. It kills me in one hit at 500 corruption. I can do that Woven Echo at 300 corruption, and I have done it multiple times at 300 corruption, because it actually drops really good gear. That Woven Echo drops stuff such as Omnis, which is a very good amulet. It also drops Nihilus, which is also a fantastic amulet. It also drops where's that other one? It drops the other chest armor, which is also a really good chest armor. This one over here, Null Portent. So it drops some really good gear. You also obviously get all of the normal, the Blade of Chaos, the World Splitter, the Bane of Winter. You get all of those from that single echo. So I can do that echo at 300 corruption, but at 500 corruption, I've only been able to complete it once at 500 corruption with my current gear. So, but all of the other content, as you guys can see, we absolutely melt the bosses in like 20 seconds or less. Most of the content in the game doesn't even last 20 seconds. So in any way, I'm really happy with the build. I think with my current gear, I should be able to go to 800 corruption without any issues, and then at 800 corruption, I'm gonna have to get some better gear. But let me show you guys. I think I will show you guys a Orobyss at the end of the video. The highest corruption Orobyss that I can do, perhaps. But for now, let me show you guys my gear. So the build is really simple. You're obviously primalist, okay? So by the way, I will put a planner in the description below, obviously. So nothing really here is super important. This is very good. This is probably the second best talent or passive, whatever you want to call it, in the entire game. So when you are below 35% HP, you take 20% less damage from all sources. And because we are a low health build, you can see Cornered Beast, we always have Cornered Beast active. So you're not actually supposed to play a low life build with a primalist. It's really strange to play a low life build with a primalist, but this is the reason that we are playing low life. It is exclusively because of this thing over here. So you take 20% less damage, and a fun little fact, that actually is always active. You can see it is always active. You always have 20% less damage taken. So even though I currently have 5,500 ward, that's actually increased by 20%. You can put another 20% ward on top of this amount of ward. So this is a really powerful passive. But okay, this is the base points, the 25 points that you put in. We don't put anything in Beastmaster. In Druid, you put a couple of points really just to reach over here. It's just nice to get 9% additional cast speed for your minions, which is pretty good, and then 10% additional movement speed when you are in your Spriggan form, because the build doesn't have any traversal skills. Like there's, well, you do have this one in case, like, so you do have Fury Leap, but that's only if you're not in Spriggan Form. If you're in Spriggan Form, you don't have any traversal skills. So you run relatively slow. It's not very slow, but you can increase the speed with your totem. So when you summon a totem, you run much faster. So that's this is basically your running speed most of the time. So 49% increased movement speed is basically your movement speed, and that's really nice. That's a respectable amount of movement speed. So you don't really need a huge amount of increased movement speed. My boots right now are actually very slow. I only get 9% increased movement speed. By the way, these boots are not very good. I don't benefit from the 27% increased endurance at all. And I don't benefit from the mountain's endurance at all either. So literally all that these boots are giving me is 12 to all attributes, and then the 16 attunement which I imprinted on this. So you really need better boots than this. That is why I say that my gear is not very good right now. I will put a planner in the description below with the ideal gear. The ideal gear that I think you can get, because currently my gear is really far from being ideal. So in any way, you just basically go over here, over here, over here. I'm not going to explain why you do that. I mean, you can take over here if you want. You can take anything if you want, but basically you need to get over here just for that little bit of movement speed and attack speed. But this isn't primary. This is not primary. This isn't really primary. And this is good. I would take this, definitely, 5 points in here, and then you can jump back over here. So once you reach level 20 or whatever, you can obviously take this over here. If you're going to be low life, you don't need to be low life to play the build. You can do health regen if you really want to. So 20 points in here, definitely. 25 if you want to do low life. Then you take 5 points over here, because this is really important for your armor and the armor of your minions as well, keeping your minions alive. Then you don't need to take this. You then jump immediately over here. So from level 25 onwards, you're going to invest basically all of your points in here. I'm not really going to explain too much about all of this. It is pretty self-explanatory. You don't actually benefit from the 5 points over here, the Gathering Storm hits, because you're not actually the one that's using Gathering Storm. Your totem is the one that's using Gathering Storm. So all this really does is it gives you added damage and health. But it is still a good investment even without the 5-point bonus. So you take that, you take that. This is good for stun avoidance. You don't benefit from the endurance threshold because you're a low life build, but the stun threshold is good. This gives you additional damage. This gives you a lot of additional damage, and you also have a 35% chance to gain haste anytime you summon a totem. So when you do, when you do this, you gain haste. So you have a really, really high chance of gaining haste, and that helps you to run around faster. So this is very good, in addition to the 35% increased totem cast speed, which is obviously absolutely fantastic. For only 5 points, that is a very, very powerful passive. And then over here, you don't want regen unless you are a regen build. You can totally be a regen build if you don't want to go low life. But like I say, you then don't benefit from the 20% over here. But you can totally play this build like a normal regen health build if you really want to. So we just put 3 points in there. We don't want to put 4 points in there, because for every little bit of health regen that you have, you will generate less health with your low life build. So you don't want health regen, to be honest. So then you go over there. This is absolutely fantastic. This is very, very good. For every 5 points of attunement, you gain 2% spell lightning penetration for your minions as well. So currently I have 86 attunement, so that is what's that? That's close to 20%. I think that's like 14% spell lightning penetration just from this, in addition to the 10 shared spell lightning damage bonus as well. So that's pretty good for 5 points. That is absolutely fantastic. I previously said this is the second best passive in the entire game. Well, this is the very best passive in the entire game. It is the most powerful passive in the game. Basically what it does is it gives you 15 resistance, elemental resistance and physical resistance per totem that you summon. So you don't really need to worry about fire resistance or lightning or cold or physical at all with this build. Honestly, on all of my gear, I could have no fire, lightning, cold, and physical resistance, and I would still be capped, because if you keep an eye on my physical resistance, for instance, we go from 70 physical resistance to 175, and that is without the additional totems. We can actually summon more totems. So you can see 220 physical resistance. So you go from having 75 physical resistance, or 70 physical resistance, to 225. You almost gain like 175 fire resistance, lightning resistance, cold resistance, and physical resistance just from this passive over here. So this passive is absolutely fantastic. That is why I say it's the best passive in the entire game. No other passive in the game gives you 175 fire, cold, lightning, and physical resistance. It's absolutely insane. And it also increases the resistance of your totems as well, which makes it even more insane. And then over here, this is pretty good. It's not fantastic, but the increased totem duration is nice, so that you don't need to resummon your Thunder Totem the whole time. You do resummon your healing totems a lot, because you don't care about the duration of your healing totems, because you're using the explosion, because the totems explode. So you don't care about the duration of your healing totems. You just care about the duration of your Thunder Totem. The Thunder Totem is the one that you want to make last as long as possible. So that's pretty good for 5 points. And then this just gives you a little bit of mana regen, which you don't really need, but it's nice to have. And then the attunement is nice to have. This 16 spell damage for your minions and yourself, even though you don't ever cast any spells that benefit from spell damage. So it's just really 16 spell damage for your minions. That's pretty good. And then this one is nice because the effect is tripled for your totems, so it helps your Thunder Totem stay alive a little bit more. And then the same as with this one over here, you don't want health regen unless you're a health regen build. Over here as well, you don't want those 8 points for the 8-point health regen bonus. You don't want health regen, so that is why I only put 4 points in there. So you basically get all of these, and then after you've done that, then you can work your way over here after you've taken these 5 points over here. And yeah, that's all of the skill. Well, that's all of the passives. The skills, let me explain the skills relatively quickly. So obviously you use Spriggan Form. The only real reason you're using Spriggan Form is for the massive amount of armor that it gives you. So if you look at my current damage reduction, I'm at 37% damage reduction, which is respectable. You know, it's not amazing. It's respectable. I don't actually have any gear that gives a stupid amount of armor. Like, all of my gear is relatively basic. My shield doesn't even give any armor. My chest gives 85, 84, 35, 80, and that's it. So I'm not stacking armor at all. This is just very basic gear. And I'm at 37 damage reduction. Then, when we go into the Spriggan Form and we use Thorn Shield, you're then at 67% damage reduction with Thorn Shield on. Without Thorn Shield, you're at 63. So this will be lower when you actually go into the level 100 empowered timeline, because the damage reduction that is displayed here is based on the minions, and this is like a level 20 zone or something like that. It's not a level 100 zone. So once you're in the empowered timeline, this will be more like, I think 51% damage reduction, which is still really good, because you need to remember it's 51% damage reduction, and then you also need to add the 20% damage reduction from over here. So you're basically constantly walking around with 70% damage reduction. Obviously not to damage over time stuff, and obviously your resistances, you have 75% resistance on all of your stuff. This adds a 42% reduction to these as well, because any non-physical hit is also reduced by 42%, but there are diminishing returns, and you also can't reduce a hit below, I think 85% or something like that. I can't remember what the lowest is, but I think you can't reduce any hit below 85% damage, as far as I can remember. So you're always going to be taking 15% damage from any hit. Doesn't matter if you even have 100% armor reduction, you will always take 15%. And then on top of the reduction, the elemental reduction, and this on top of this 44% damage reduction, you also get the 20% reduction over here, because this works for physical and elemental. It works for any hit whatsoever. So, and then on top of that, you also have block chance. I currently have 37% block chance with a 37% block effectiveness. So if I block a hit, that means I block 37% of the damage of the hit, and then it has to go through my armor and my resistances, and then that is also reduced by a further 20% from this over here. So you can see that when you are in Spriggan form, you are very, very tanky. That is why I am able to do 600 corruption content, and I technically only have 5,500 ward. I could, if I wanted to, have like 10,000 ward. On my other character, which is an Acolyte character, I have 11,000 ward, and I'm also using the same chest. Well, not this exact same chest piece. I'm actually using one that is a little bit different. I'm using this one over here on my other Acolyte, which has 11,000 ward. So when you equip this, your ward will go up by around 1,000. So if you really, really find that you're dying a little bit more, then you can do something like this and just add more health, you know. Then you can get up to 6,300. But honestly, with this build, you don't need a giant amount of health or stuff like that, because all of the different layers of protection, which I just highlighted to you guys. So yeah, that's your layers of damage reduction. Spriggan Form, really good. Huge amount of damage reduction, as I say, because of this over here. And then you can also cast your Thorn Shield, which doesn't last very long. I think it lasts like maybe 10 seconds or something like that. But basically, as you're running around in the dungeon, you can just keep casting this, and you can see your damage just keeps going up. Your damage reduction just keeps going up. Like you can get up to a huge amount of damage reduction. You can see 6,000 armor, 6,400 armor. That's a stupid amount of armor. Like you can literally more than double your armor by just continually casting Thorn Shield. So Thorn Shield is very, very powerful. And like I say, it lasts 10 seconds or something like that. So you can just cast it if you see you're going to take a big hit. You can just dodge out of the way and then cast it for a little bit of extra damage reduction. So the damage reduction and the survivability of the Spriggan Form is absolutely fantastic. So that is why we take these points over here, and then you take these points over here so that you can always summon 3 totems. Instead of summoning 1 totem, you always summon 3 totems. That's very important. And then you take this over here so that you never run out of rage, because when you are in your Spriggan Form, you're using rage. So you can go absolutely crazy and just spam a boss the whole time. I mean, you guys saw me during that all of those boss fights. I never ran out of mana. So you can just constantly cast, constantly spam, and use abilities and use Thorn Shield and all of that, and you will never run out of mana or run out of rage due to this point over here. So this is all very, very good, honestly. Then the Thorn Totem is relatively self-explanatory. You use the Thorn Totem in mapping. I actually haven't shown you guys a map. I might show you a map at the very end. I'm not going to show it right now, but basically the Thorn Totem, obviously you consume the Thorn Totem. So you summon 6 of them, and then you suck up or you consume 5 of them, like that. So then your Thunder Totem will absorb 5 of them. And then you can just continue summoning them in order to stack the armor shred. You can get the armor shred up to 220 stacks of armor shred. So that's really the purpose of the Thorn Totem. It is to stack the armor shred. And the explosions actually also do a nice amount of damage. You can actually get nice explosions. Like if you look over here, you can get explosions up to 100,000. Look at that. You get 100,000 damage explosions from a single totem. And you're obviously summoning 3 of them. So it's every time you do it, 300, 300, 300, 300, 300. So you're doing 300,000 damage each time that your totems explode. So this damage over here benefits the explosion. This damage over here also benefits the explosion. And then I just added 1 point over here so that I could be absolutely certain that we are actually reaching 100% crit chance. And then otherwise than that, you can get 2 extra totems over here. The mana efficiency doesn't actually benefit you because you never run out of mana. This actually does benefit your explosion. I've tested it. It does benefit the explosion based on the amount of poison stacks that are on the enemy. So the enemy gets a couple of poison stacks, as you can see over here, and the poison stacks makes the totems do more explosion damage, 80% more damage in fact. And then this is just the poison burst for your totems. So I also previously tested this by adding 1 point over year and 1 point over year, but I actually found that that reduces the damage. So because you no longer get poison stacks on the enemy, this 80% over year doesn't function if you have this selected over year. So even though this is nice to convert your totems to cold damage, I really wouldn't do it unless you are stacking a lot of cold damage in order to make this worthwhile. Otherwise, it's not worthwhile. This is far more damage than what you get from this. So you can activate this and this, which will add a lot of freeze multiplier to your totems, and you do freeze the enemies a considerable amount if you have this selected, but you do less damage, significantly less damage actually. So this setup, how I have it right here, right now, is good. It's a good setup. If you don't have 20 points, you can just ignore this over here. So you take 1 less point over here, and then you take the rest of the points out of here from level 20. So you will take 1 point less over here, and then 2 less points over here. Then you will be at level 20. The rest of the stuff is necessary. You actually benefit more from the spell damage than what you do from the normal damage. So that is why I say the spell damage is better than the normal damage. You can also test that out yourself on the DPS dummy, obviously. Then the next piece is the Storm Totem. So the Storm Totem is obviously the main source of your damage. It absolutely rips bosses apart. So the Storm Totem does as much damage as it does due to the Unmatched Storms passive. This is it almost increases the damage that the Storm Totem does by about 40%. I've done the maths. Without this, and obviously without this, the Storm Totem does about 40% less damage. So instead of hitting for 1.6 million, 1.7 million, it goes down to around 1 million damage. It does hit very quickly because you lose 80% cast speed. So it does hit more quickly without this, but the damage is significantly reduced, and you then don't gain any of the benefits that you gain over here. So you gain a lot of benefits over here, and you lose all of these benefits if you don't have this selected. So basically, long story short, the Storm Totem does a nice amount of damage without this, but it does a lot more damage with this and with this. And then, yeah, so that is required. Then this is required, Fulgurite Core. I will explain why this is the most powerful passive for this entire tree in a second. So basically you get 2%, you get 2 flat damage per 10% shock that you have. So I will explain why that is incredibly powerful in just a second. So then this is very powerful, but it is not as powerful as this over here. So you will first, you will go over here. Then obviously you will go over here very quickly. Then you will go over here, down, 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 over here. The Thunder Totem significantly increases the damage of your totem, because if you look at the damage just as is, you can see that the totem just as it is does 470,000 damage, 470,000. But if we do this, oh no, wait, that was wrong actually. There we go. If we do that, you can see it does double the damage pretty much. 560,000 damage. So it does pretty much double the damage. So that is why this is really nice. Obviously, as I said, you can work out for yourself. You're absorbing 5 totems. So five totems are consumed, which gives you 20% added damage and health and duration per totem. So that pretty much doubles the damage. As we can see, it goes from 400 and something thousand to 870,000. So it pretty much doubles the damage of your Thunder Totem. So that's very powerful. This is also pretty powerful. This is required, so you can't do anything about that. This increases the cast speed significantly. This increases the base crit chance, but it's not necessary. It's only necessary to reach over here. So the totem, even without the 9% base chance, the totem will already have 100% crit chance. I will explain why we have 100% crit chance in just a second. And then the 90% critical multiplier is also obviously incredibly powerful, especially considering that we have 100% crit chance. So that's basically the Storm Totem. And then the Unmatched Storms. Let me explain the Unmatched Storms. So Unmatched Storms uses the Storm Bolts. So the Storm Bolts, this thing has a Storm Bolt. If we search for Bolt, you can see over here all of the modifiers to the Bolt. So this actually does increase your damage. Some of these things does not increase your damage. Like this doesn't increase your damage. I actually tested it. Turning it to physical or turning it to cold does not increase your damage. Unless you get an item that dramatically increases your cold damage or your physical damage, or at least the damage of our minions, then this would never be more powerful than the lightning. But you can change this totem into a physical totem or into a cold totem if you really want to, but I don't think there's any item in the game that would justify that. So any of the modifiers to bolt is really powerful. So this one actually does function for the bolt. This one functions for the bolt. It really adds quite a lot of damage. This one is really nice because it makes the range of your Thunder Totem a lot more. This one doesn't actually function. This does absolutely nothing. You gain no benefit from this at all. This is really nice, 40% lightning penetration on top of the 16% lightning penetration which we spoke about earlier. So your totem will basically always have at least 55% lightning penetration, and that isn't even considering your gear. Your gear actually also gives lightning penetration, like you get 17% lightning penetration over here. I think you get a little bit more over here. Yes, 12% lightning penetration. So your Thunder Totem and your lightning totems in general will pretty much have close to 100% lightning penetration always, which is really good. That means you're doing double damage to pretty much anything that you encounter. This is very, very good. This actually does increase the damage. I have tested it, so this is very, very good. And yeah, but it's just really simple. This is a really simple setup. If you have more points, than 20 points, because I only have 20 points over here, pretty much you can increase the attack speed, I guess. This should work, but only the melee attack area will work. I don't think the additional storm stacks will work because you don't actually gain storm stacks, and your totem doesn't gain storm stacks either. There's not a whole lot of stuff that will actually add to the damage of your gathering storm. So that's why this is perfect. Having 20 points is actually really perfect. So that explains the combination of the gathering storm and your totem, which actually uses the gathering storm. So that all of that is done, and then the Tempest Strike. Literally all that the Tempest Strike does is it increases the damage of your totem. That's the only function of this thing, even though it does do a fair amount of damage. So if you place 3 of them down, they actually do a fair amount of damage, but not nearly as much as your normal totems. Obviously, like I already said, this does 300,000 damage per hit. So 300,000 damage is obviously significantly more than the small amount of damage that these totems over here can do, you know? So you can see there 1.4 million, 1.3 million, really nice. So the purpose of this is exclusively to buff up your Thunder Totem. So you go over here, you take this. This allows you to place the totems. You obviously can't place the totems when you are in the Spriggan form, so that is why you do it when you are not in the Spriggan form. You can do it in the middle of a battle. You can totally do that. You just need to remember that you lose quite a lot of armor if you're not in the Spriggan form. So you can switch and then you can place the totems, and then obviously you actually first need to place your Thunder Totem or your Storm Totem, and then place 3 of them, and then go back into Spriggan form. So you can totally do that, because that does add a lot of additional damage, as I've already showed you. So you can totally do that. You can switch in and out of Spriggan form during a battle if you want that little bit of extra damage. But basically this is just to buff up your totem before a battle starts, because your Storm Totem lasts 30 seconds, so you can buff it up before you go into battle, and it will stay buffed up for quite some time during a battle. So it really adds quite a lot of additional damage. So you just go over here, and then this over here is the thing that buffs up your totem. So if you have more than 50% intelligence, you gain double bonus from this, which we do have. We have 77 intelligence. So you go over here, boom, boom, boom. This adds 4 shared spell damage, which actually is doubled due to this over here. So you actually gain 8 shared spell damage per stack. And you get a lot of stacks. The maximum amount of stacks, if we look over here quickly. I actually need to do that. So if we look at the maximum amount of stacks over here. So you can gain around 15 stacks. Mostly it's around 10, but I mean you can get 15. So there we get 14. But let's say it's just 10. Let's say you only gain 10. That means your Storm Totem will gain 10 as well, because it's shared. So if your Storm Totem has 10 stacks on it, that means it's 4 times 2, which is 8, times 10, which is 80. So that means when your Storm Totem has 10 stacks of the Gladiator of Lagon buff, that means it's doing 80 added flat spell damage, which is a stupid amount of spell damage. 80 added flat spell damage is insane. That makes the 10 added flat spell damage that you get over here look like absolutely fucking nothing. I mean, here you're spending 5 points and you're only getting 10 added spell damage, whereas this thing over here is giving your totem 80. That is 800% more than what you get from over here. So that hopefully illustrates to you how powerful this over here is, because you get 80, at least 80 added spell damage on your totems. And yeah, then you just go over here, and this you don't actually need this over here. I just did it because I don't like the Wind Tempest and I don't like the Thunder Tempest. I prefer the Frigid Tempest. So, but you don't really need this, but I just took it because I have extra points. And then this one over here adds a small benefit, a very small benefit. So yeah, that's basically all of the skills explained. That is all of the passives explained. And then we get over to the gear. So like I said with this one over here, this Fulgurite core is incredibly powerful. It gives your totem an incredible amount of flat lightning spell damage. For every 10% of shock that you have, it adds 2 added flat spell lightning damage. So if we look at our shield, for instance, our shield gives 340% essentially. So that is 20, 20, 20. So that's 60 with another basically 10. Let's call it 10. So your shield, only your shield alone, gives you about 70 added flat spell lightning damage. So that is a stupid amount of added lightning damage from one single item. So to illustrate how powerful the shield is, let's look at the damage. So you can see 470. Okay, 460. Then we remove the shield. Now we just need to wait until it goes off. So 460. Now we only get up to 290. So you lose 180,000 damage just by not having the shield equipped. 180,000 damage. That's almost like a 40% damage reduction. So you increase the damage of your build by about 40% with this one single item. So that shows you how powerful the added flat spell lightning damage is that you get from this. So you need to stack a lot of shock chance or chance to shock attackers, such as what the shield gives. The shield gives chance to shock attackers. So you can see it is incredibly powerful, the shield alone. I have not found a single item in the entire game that adds more damage than this does. You can also get shock chance on your totems. So like this totem over here gives 30, which would be 6 added flat spell lightning damage. This one over here gives 24% shock chance, so that would be around 4 to 6 added spell lightning damage. So basically you just need to stack a huge amount of shock chance and chance to shock attackers. So where's this shock chance? I'm not sure. Where's the shock chance? Okay, shock chance, so 181 in addition to the 338. So that pretty much gives you 520 total shock chance added to this passive over here. So if you work it out, 100 is 20, so 500 is 100. So 500 added shock chance will give you 100 added flat spell lightning damage. And then obviously all of your modifiers to spell damage, such as this one, which adds 43% increased minion spell damage. And this one over here, which adds 28% added minion spell damage. All of these spell damage increases will make that 100 flat spell damage that you get into 143 and then 170. So you are, before you even really start looking at the rest of your gear, already just with the shield and with your base amount of shock that you have, you're already sitting at close to 200 added flat spell lightning damage for your totem, which is a stupid amount of flat spell damage. I think you would agree. So basically, the shield is fantastic. It's not rolled well. Like this, it's not rolled very well at all right now. As I said, my gear is not very good right now. So this shield, you can actually get up to 430% chance to shock attackers. This shield drops from Lagon, by the way. So you really need to do a lot of Lagon. So if you go over here, it's over there, ending the storm. So you need to do a lot of ending the storm and a lot of Lagon runs in order to get the Coral Aegis, and hopefully you can get it with 1 LP or 2 LP on it. I got lucky with this one and I got 2 LP on it, and then I decided to put all resistance and block on it to improve my defenses by a little bit. You can put anything you want on it. You can even put more chance to shock attackers on it if you really want to, if you really want more damage. But I just prioritized defense a little bit with this. So this is a very good item. For all of your totems, you can just basically go for a little bit of increased health. You don't gain any benefit from the endurance threshold. You gain a lot of benefit from increased minion spell damage. Increased totem damage is also good, but it's not as good as spell damage. So if you have to decide between 40% added totem damage and 40% added minion spell damage, you absolutely want to go for the increased minion spell damage, because the increased minion spell damage, like a 1% increased minion spell damage, will give you a much bigger benefit than 1% added totem damage. So always prioritize increased minion spell damage, unless there's a very big difference. Like 80% increased totem damage is obviously gonna give you a bigger increase in damage than 28% increased minion spell damage. But if this was like 50%, if I had to choose between 80% totem damage and 50% increased minion spell damage, then I absolutely would choose the increased minion spell damage. It's much better for scaling. So this is my totems. I'm just gonna hover over my totems quickly so that you can get an idea of what to look for. This one, you can make it anything you want to. Basically, you want a lot of minion spell damage, you want a lot of shock chance. You can also get increased totem damage, as I have over here. You can even stack lightning pen if you want to. So if you go to your totems, you get these ones that gives 2 lightning pen, 2% lightning pen, which is nice. And then you get these ones that give 4% increased lightning pen. So you can stack your entire thing with these ones if you really want to. You just have to see what the damage increases are, but I think this is good. I think either stacking minion spell damage or minion totem damage is good. And then for the empowerment, like the Weaver empowerment, this is fantastic. The 6% increased minion cast speed and 7 minion spell damage is the best you can get. That will give you a large increase in damage. It's just very rare. It's very, very, very rare. You have to continually reroll your idol to get that. You can also get ward per second, which is nice. I have ward per second over here, and I have ward per second over here. And then this is what you want to get. You want to get minion cast speed, and then over here I'm still trying to get a ward per second or something else on this one as well. So that's the Weaver modifiers that you want on your idols, to be honest. And then if we look at the rest of the gear, obviously the idols, I've shown you the idols. The reason why you have 100% crit is because of the Ferobor's Chisel. So the Ferobor's Chisel is a very overlooked item, to be honest. It is the best item for this build because it's really not difficult to stack a lot of intelligence. With even the primalist, it's not that difficult to stack a lot of intelligence. So you can see I have 77 intelligence, and that gives me 77% crit chance on all of my totems. Now, this is not increased critical strike chance. There's a massive difference between 1% increased crit chance and 1% crit chance. So this gives your totem, literally this one item, gives all of your totems 77% chance to critical strike. And then obviously that is not even considering the 9% that you get over here and the 5% default that they get, because all skills in the game have 5% default. So you take the 5% default with a 9%, that's 14%. So the 14% on top of the 77%, that's like a 91% crit chance. And then you literally just need a tiny amount of crit chance. I think I might have a tiny amount of crit chance around here somewhere. I'm not 100% sure if I actually do have a tiny amount of crit chance. Let's quickly just have a look. I'm not sure. Critical strike multiplier. Yeah, so I might not have any crit chance at all. If I'm looking at my gear quickly, I don't see any added crit chance anywhere, unless I'm getting it from somewhere over here. No, I'm not getting it from anywhere else. So currently my totem, my Thunder Totem, has a 91% chance to crit. But if I look over here, is there any added critical chance over here? No, there's no added critical chance over here. And I don't think there's any added critical chance over here. So yeah, all of my totems have a 91% chance to crit. Now, if you have any added critical chance at all, like if you look at any gear over here, not that one. I remember I had a helmet that I used previously. I just need to find it so that I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, like, this amulet gives you 13% increased minion critical strike chance. If you had this amulet, that would push your totems over 100% crit chance. That's basically what I'm saying. So you just need the tiniest amount of critical strike chance. Even a totem, you get a lot of totems. Like this totem gives 57% increased minion critical strike chance. If you had this totem, then your totems would all of a sudden have like 150% chance to crit. Base chance. So that would absolutely put you over 100% crit chance. Now, unfortunately, this game doesn't have hardly any reasons to go over 100% crit chance. There's the one primordial item over here, this one. And I actually have tested this. This item does not work for your totems, unfortunately. Otherwise, this item would be hilariously powerful for your totems. But unfortunately, it doesn't affect your totems because I think this one and there's another item, I can't remember the item's name, but these two items are the only items in the entire game which utilizes crit chance over 100%. Normally, if you have more than 100% crit chance, then you lose it. There's nothing, no benefit whatsoever over 100% crit chance. This item and another item are the only two items in the entire game that allows you to actually benefit from having over 100% crit chance. So it would have been really, really fantastic if this item actually benefited your totems, but unfortunately it doesn't benefit your totems because, yeah, it benefits you, it doesn't benefit your totem. So, unfortunately, this game doesn't have a way for you to utilize the 100% crit chance. In other games like I think Torchlight, and a couple of other ARPGs as well, do have a built-in system where if you have over 100% crit chance, then you get a double crit. So it's called a double crit. So instead of doing a single critical hit, which obviously it's not necessarily double damage because the damage of a critical strike is different. So currently my critical strike multiplier is 200, but for my minions it's 314. So if a minion critical strikes, they deal 314% damage, but if you had a double crit, it would be 628% damage because it's double. So that would have been really nice if this game was like some other ARPGs that actually allows you to have a built-in system inside the game which allows you to utilize the critical strike chance above 100. But unfortunately, the game doesn't have any system like that currently in the game, which is unfortunate. With that basically doesn't give you any incentive to go over 100% crit chance, but like I said, we are currently at 91% crit chance, which is perfect. That's fine. I would rather be a little bit under 100% crit chance than going too much over 100% crit chance, because that would just be wasted, to be honest. So yeah, that explains the Pharaoh's Chisel. It's a fantastic item and it adds a huge amount of damage. And then in order to get the +2 to all totem skills, you have the ring. And the ring is actually not bad. It's actually not a terrible ring. The 10 health regen for totems is nice. The 18 intelligence is obviously nice to increase your intelligence. The little bit of armor which it gives is nice. The necrotic resistance which it gives is nice. and then it adds +2 to all totem skills. But this isn't super necessary. There are definitely other rings in the game which would be better than this ring, because if you look at various rings, like this ring for instance adds 2 to all minion skills, which is basically the same as 2 to all totem skills, because the totems do count as minion. A minion is a totem, so anything that adds minion skills will also add to totem skills. So if you look at this ring for instance, it gives +2, exactly the same as this one does. And then it gives a little bit of increased mana, which you don't benefit from. The +3 minion critical strike chance really doesn't help us very much at all. And that's basically it. You don't gain any benefit from any of the other modifiers on this ring. So this ring is quite a lot better than this ring. So that tells you that this ring is very good, but you will definitely be able to get rings that are better. There's definitely rings that are better out there. I'm just currently using this one because it's easy. So my other ring is a very basic ring, gives me some critical strike avoidance, which actually obviously increases your survivability, gives a little bit of intelligence, gives some minion damage, which is nice, gives block chance because we do have a shield, which is nice, gives some attunement, which is nice, but it's not perfect. The ring definitely is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. The belt is good. It's not fantastic. It's a good belt. You can definitely get better belts. You can get better purple belts even. You can get a good purple belt that has like 100% increased minion damage on it, and maybe some health. You can get health on it. So this belt is okay. I'm actually hoping for this belt, Omen of Thunder, that has 2 LP on it or 3 LP on it. That would be really fantastic because it's a relatively low level item. It's a level 48 item. So you will be able to get this belt with 2 LP on it relatively easy. And then obviously you can imprint whatever you want. So if we look over here quickly, you can take minion damage. So something like this, 53% increased minion damage, and then the 75% added critical strike avoidance that will allow you to be over 100% critical strike avoidance together with this one over here. This will be nice. You can imprint this with a minion damage on top of your belt, and that will make it a much better belt. So yeah, you can do something like that, or you can just have a really good belt like this one. You just obviously need more modifiers on it, but you can get a really good belt. Like even this one will be nice, even though we don't benefit from the increased mana regeneration, to be honest. So it's really easy to get a better belt than this. And as I already pointed out, the 17% lightning penetration for totems isn't even that good, to be honest, because we literally have over 100% lightning penetration for our totems. So 17% is not that much, to be honest. It's a little bit inconsequential. Like I could unequip this belt and you honestly won't see a very large difference in my damage. You might see a 10 or 15% difference in my damage. So this belt is not very good, to be honest. The boots, as I already explained, are not very good. I'm literally just using it for the amount of stats that it gives, but these boots are not very good. I would much rather have boots that give a lot of health, and then obviously either attunement or intelligence. You can get purple boots that are way better than these boots. Definitely. You can also maybe go for these boots. You can do something like this, because this will actually give you more ward generation, which will give you more survivability. It also gives you way more movement speed, obviously. And then obviously you can just imprint something like the 11 attunement. You can imprint that on there as well. So it's really not difficult to get better boots than this. These boots are not very good. This is a very good relic for this build. It's not required at all, because as I already said, you can, during a boss fight, you can switch out of Spriggan Form, and then you can cast totems, and you can do that, and then you can go back into Spriggan Form. So, and because your Thunder Totem lasts like 30 seconds or more, you only need to do that. You only need to swap in and out of human form every 30 seconds. And honestly, a lot of boss battles don't even last 30 seconds. So this is a nice item to have due to the 12% chance to summon a Storm Totem on hit. It's nice to have. So when you shoot like this, like if you go over here and we shoot, so you won't summon the Storm Totem, but when you shoot, you then have a 13% chance to summon the Storm Totem. So otherwise, what you would do is you would go out of your mode, or actually you would first summon the totems. So you would go like this. Let me just wait quickly. So you would summon the totems, go out, summon the Storm Totem, and then you would go back into your Spriggan Form. So that is what you would do if you didn't have this item. So this item is nice, but it is by no means necessary. Before I used this item, I actually had the vessel. Before I swapped to low life, I had the vessel. The Vessel of Strife is an absolutely fantastic item if you have a lot of health regen, because I first tried out the health regen build and I had like 550 health regen, so 550 health per second, and that through the Vessel of Strife gives you like whatever 150 160 ward per second, which is a stupid amount of ward. So before I swapped to my low life build that I currently have, I used the Vessel of Strife and just stacking a lot of health regen. You can get to 500 health regen without too much effort, to be honest. But yeah, then I swapped to the Architect of Astral Blood as my primal item. You can obviously only have one primal item equipped at a time, so I chose to have that one. So yeah, the Stormcarved Testament is not necessary. It's just nice. It's just a nice item to have. It's a nice quality of life item. But there are definitely items that you will be able to get that will give you either more defense or more damage than what this item can do. It's just the ability to summon a Storm Totem while you are in your Spriggan Form is nice. Then the Julra gloves, this should be pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. The ability to get over 200 stacks of shred armor on a boss is a huge increase in your damage. It's a huge increase in damage for what the build can possibly do. So shred armor is really good. If you don't want to do shred armor, I guess you could do something like cast speed, something like that. You know, cast speed. Your minions, your totems will benefit from the cast speed. You can do something like that if you want to, but like I like the chance to shred armor. So chance to shred armor is priority. If you are lucky enough to get a Julra's Obsession with a LP 2 LP, then try to get the shred armor in addition to the cast speed. That would be very, very nice. But like I said, my gear is not that good. I do have a Julra's Obsession tier 2 on another character, but I'm using that on the other character that is also a minion build. So this minion build will just have to earn its own Julra's Obsession for a tier 2. So that's all of that. I've already shown that. I already explained that. This is pretty self-explanatory. This just gives a lot of ward. So before I switched to this one, I actually had another one, which was this one. So this one adds a lot of totem critical strike chance, a lot of totem damage. It adds increased health regen. This is when I was still using the health regen build that I just explained. So you can totally use an item like this, which is still very good. It adds more damage than what this thing does. In fact, this thing adds no damage whatsoever. So if you want to go more damage and you want to make up your defenses in other areas of the build, then you can totally get something like this. You can even get something like this. This will actually add a lot of damage to our build. So I can show you quickly. So previously we got 1.6 million hits. So let's see how much we can get with this. So 1.6, I saw a 1.6 again. It's so difficult to see the fucking ranges of the damage. Why don't the developers do something about that? It's really difficult to see the range of damage. I can't even see the damage numbers. I don't know why they don't pop up at the side. Ah, there was a 1.6 again. So like in another ARPG, they pop up to the side. So they go like to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, like that. That allows you to see the damage numbers a lot easier. And obviously, like I said previously, the fact that the game still doesn't have a DPS dummy is incredibly annoying. It's really, really annoying when other ARPGs like Torchlight, for instance, has a fantastic DPS dummy system built into the game. So Torchlight is far superior to this game when it comes to theory crafting. The theory crafting in Torchlight is so much easier than in this game. And it's sad because Torchlight is not a game that is as good as this game overall, but in that one specific aspect of theory crafting, it is far superior to this game, which is really irritating when you're someone like me who is trying to make the most efficient build and trying to do theory crafting, but you can't do it because you can't even see what the fuck damage your build is actually doing. But we can see like this. So you can see basically 500,000 damage. And then if we swap, then we're getting 435. So you can see you can get a 70,000 damage increase by swapping out the chest. So This chest is not good at all for damage. Something like this would be far superior because you get the 50% increased minion damage, you get the 73% increased totem damage, and you get the 63% increased minion spell damage. So this is a very, very good chest. It's also a chest that I was using previously before switching over to the low life ward build. So if you have bigger balls than mine, then you can absolutely go for more damage instead of more defenses, but I just prefer a little bit more defenses. But you can absolutely do a lot more damage with a chest like that. So yeah, so that gives you the explanation on the chest. The amulet should be relatively self-explanatory. The increased minion critical strike is very good. There are some items that come close to it. So if we look over here, where was it? Let me just have a look quickly. So something like this would also be very, very good. This is the amulet that I was using previously. So it gives added minion damage 32%, added minion damage 131%. It gives 35% increased minion critical strike, which will allow you to get above the 100% crit chance. And then it gives life. So that's really good. There's only a small amount of damage difference between this one and this one. So if you don't have a death rattle, then you can definitely just use a good tier 6 or tier 7 amulet such as this one. There's a very small difference, and this one actually makes it so that your minions die more easily. So it's not super good. It actually, like I say, makes your minions die more easily. So yeah, so that's the amulet, and then the helmet. This is a pretty good helmet. I can definitely get a better helmet. Like this helmet doesn't even have a sealed affix, so I can still get a sealed affix on this one. But like I said, my gear is not amazing. My gear is still relatively poor, even though I'm doing 600 corruption. So the base helmet, the increased minion physical damage doesn't benefit this build in the slightest. So I would rather get a helmet like something like this, which increases the health by 10%. That would be a very good base to have, instead of this base, which we don't really gain any benefit from at all. So yeah, that would be nice. You obviously want the increased Summon Totem on it. This one is tier 7, which would be very difficult to get. But tier 6 is fine, and tier 5 is also fine. But basically, the increased levels on the Storm Totem is very important. Because if you don't have the increased levels, then you're not going to be able to get the 3 points over year. And you're probably also going to have to reduce this by 1. And then probably also reduce this by 1 or 2. If you can't get to 26 or 27 on the Storm Totem. And yeah, guys, that is quite honestly the entire build, I think. The blessings, I haven't sorted out my blessings yet properly, but basically health is good over here. I don't think there's anything better than health that you can really get. I mean, you could get Ward Decay Threshold if you really want to instead of health, but I prefer health. So on that one it's health, that one doesn't matter, that one doesn't matter. That one doesn't matter. Over here, you can choose mana, because mana actually does give you a benefit, a damage benefit. or you can choose health regen if you are a health regen build, but don't get health regen if you are a low life build. You can choose ward per second if you really want to, if you want a little bit of extra survivability. The chance to shred lightning resistance on hit doesn't help us because we are not actually hitting the enemies, only our totems are hitting the enemies. So this would be nice, but we aren't actually hitting the enemies. Chance to shock is really nice if you want added damage. As I've already explained, 100% chance to shock would give your Thunder Totem 20 added lightning spell damage. So you basically have to choose between 20 added lightning spell damage or 90 added mana or more ward per second. So yeah, there's a couple of choices that you can do over here. You can even get more ward decay threshold over there if you want to. So there's a couple of choices over here. I went with mana. And then over here, this one I still haven't figured out, but I want all resistances. All resistances, 20% all resistances is very, 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 very good, even though I'm already basically capped on everything. I'm not capped on poison yet, but this will get me capped on everything. But you don't really need to worry about your resistances in this with this build. You only need to worry about poison, necrotic, and void. So if your poison, necrotic, and void is okay, then you don't need the 20% to all resistances. You could go for something else. I'm not really sure what you would go for. 20% to all minion resistances. I guess you could do that if your resistances are already capped. But yeah, honestly, I would go for the all resistances. And then over here, I actually need to change this. I'm not getting any benefit from the endurance threshold right now. So I would probably go for increased armor. Increased armor would be really, really good. You can also go for increased block chance because we do have a shield. Yeah, so over here I would go for the armor or the block chance, either of those two. So I actually need to go change this endurance threshold to the block chance or to the armor. And that's it. That's all of the blessings. So that's the entire build, guys. I will also just show you my weaver tree because I know people ask for the weaver tree. Even though it is subjective what is actually better. So this is my weaver tree. In my opinion, it is absolutely fantastic to go down here and then grab the loomed riches and put in your favorite woven thing in there. This one is my favorite, Collapsing Horizon. And then move over here and then get this one as well. And then put the other one in there as well, which I also put in Collapsing Horizon. So that's the first thing that I would grab over here. Then I would go over here and grab this one. This one is very good, Gilded Lizards. So I would grab that one, and then I would probably grab the Sealed Riches and put in your favorite universal unique item in there, because I use it to farm uniques. So you put in your favorite unique item in there. Then you can spend another 3 points and go over here, put your favorite unique item in there. This sword catcher is pretty rare, but I've actually gotten a lot of sword catchers, and I'm trying to get a tier 3 sword catcher right now. I'm also trying to get a tier 3 Blood of the Exile, so that's why I put these in here. You need to remember that you can only put uniques in here that are universally dropped, so it can't be like the shield, for instance, because the shield is not universally dropped, it only drops from a single boss. So you can't put uniques like that in there. You can only put universally dropped uniques in here. So I basically go over here. Then this one is nice over here. You put 2 points over here. That's a nice one. Then I went over here and I cancelled the glyphs, I cancelled the ruins, I cancelled arena keys, and I cancelled experience. I only left gold because I need gold, but I cancelled all of the other stuff. Then you can go over here, over here, over here, over here. This one is good. Primordial Ambush is actually a good one to have. Because you get a lot of primordial uniques from it. All of the, well, pretty much all of the primordial uniques that I have, except for these ones. The chests, all of these chests I bought, but all of these other primordial uniques, like all of these amulets and these ones and all of these ones and all of the gloves and the ones and the hammers and the bows, all of these I got from drops. I didn't buy them. I only bought these ones, the chests. I didn't buy any of these other ones. So the ambush over here is really good because that actually gives you a lot of primordial uniques. And then yeah, basically you guys can just screenshot this or whatever if you want to get my full tree. I'm 5 points away from from getting the maximum. I've done all of the required woven uniques, so I've done literally all of them except this one over here, but I've done all of them. And then yeah, the rest of the points I will get from the ranks. So that's my woven tree. And yeah, I think that is pretty much everything that you guys need to know about the build. But like I said, and like always, if you have any questions, just ask, you know, just ask me below, or perhaps you will catch me when I'm live streaming, then I can answer your question more directly, you know, if you have a little bit of a more long-winded question. Or perhaps if you catch me while I'm actually streaming Last Epoch, because I obviously stream different games. If you catch me while I'm streaming Last Epoch, then I can log on to this character and I can demonstrate whatever you want to. Whatever your question is, I can then demonstrate that for you. Before I end, let me show you a quick run on 600 corruption, just so that you guys can see how the build functions in your average echo. In an average echo, how easy it is to go through the echo and just how fun the build is to actually play. We can do this one. I think that'll be fine. Should be relatively quick because you just need to cleanse the tower. So basically, you never really need to do the other combo with the Tempest Strike totems. Like honestly, you never need to do that except for bosses. So you go into your human form, or into your Spriggan form, and then you just spam healing totem constantly. And then when you want to do a little bit extra damage, you just right click. That's the entire build. So you will see, without even summoning the Thunder Totem, things just die. They basically die like almost immediately. The build is really, really fast. Ouch. With clearing. Ouch. The clearing is really fast. And you need to remember, ouch, ouch, ouch. Ouch. Yeah, that was those things do a lot of damage, and there's 3 of them actually. You need to remember that. Oh, we actually got some sword catchers over there. That is exactly why I have the sword catchers mounted over there, because you get a lot of sword catchers. But I'm trying to get a tier 3 sword catcher, but hopefully I will get one eventually. What I was busy saying is that you guys need to remember that you need to balance defensiveness with offensiveness. So currently I've got a pretty good balance of both of them. But if you find that you're dying a little bit too much, you can get a little bit more defensiveness. Just swap out one of your offensive armor pieces for a little bit more defensive. And obviously vice versa. If you find that you're not killing the enemies quickly enough, obviously I'm killing them really quickly. So perhaps I have focused a little bit too much on offensiveness, you know. Perhaps I should focus a tiny little bit more on defensiveness. But you just basically need to customize your gear the way that you want to, you know. If you see you're dying a little bit too quickly, just swap out a couple of items, and the build is really flexible. And obviously, like I said, we are doing 588 corruption right now. It probably looks like we're not even doing 100 corruption, but that's just how powerful the build is. You just spam your totems and you can walk right on through. There's really very little time when you are like actually standing still and actually fighting stuff, you know. You're just really moving very quickly, moving from one pack to the next pack, you know. And that's good. That's a good indication that I'm a little bit too powerful for the 600 corruption right now, and that means that I will be able to pretty easily go to a higher corruption without any issues, you know. And obviously the totem build is really fantastic because you can just stand here and summon your totem, and your totem just blasts everything into smithereens. Like, I can literally stand here and not attack at all, and the totem, because of the range of the totem, it just zaps everything to death. Like, the totem is really nice. Like, I can check my gear, like, it's just really nice. That's what I like about the totem build. I mean, a lot of minion builds are like that, but with some minion builds you still need to do a little bit of stuff, you know. You need to do a little bit of playing the game, you know. You can't switch your brain off completely, but yeah, with this build you can switch your brain off completely, basically. And yeah, I mean, look at this. It looks like we're doing 100 corruption, but we're actually doing 600 corruption. You just melt these things. Absolutely melt them. So yeah, it's a really fun build to play in echoes, just normal echoes. And then obviously, as I already showed you guys, it melts a 600 corruption boss. Basically any 600 corruption boss in the entire game, it melts in like 20 to 30 seconds, you know. So yeah, it's just really nice, and I really like the playstyle, and I like the tankiness of the build and all of that. So yeah, that one is done. Let me quickly see if I can line a nice high corruption Orobyss up for you guys to end the video with. Okay, so here is a 509 corruption. I wanted to try a little bit more, but it's not convenient for me right now because I don't want to push higher corruption. I want to farm a little bit at 500 and replace some of my shittier pieces of gear like this one. For instance, actually this one as well. And probably my amulet as well. I want to get a better amulet. So anyway, we're going to do a 509 and that would be fine. There's really not going to be a huge difference between a 509 and a 600 or a 700. It's just going to have 100% or 200% more health on top of the 500. So it's not even double as powerful. You would have to push to 1000 corruption in order to have an Orobyss that is twice as powerful as the one that we're going to do right now. So you can just imagine for yourself, if we spend whatever 30 seconds killing this one, then to kill one at 1000 corruption, you're going to spend a minute to kill it. So you can just do the calculation for yourself. So anyway, this one is 509. And then we will end the video for today.
You understand nothing, traveler. That's change.
Ouch. So you can see you can even take a direct hit from certain skills, like that big one, and you're able to survive it because obviously, as I explained previously, you have the 5,500 ward plus 20% additional ward plus the 47% armor reduction, and that's without the Thorn Shield. If you actually stack a couple of Thorn Shields, then that all of a sudden becomes 62% damage reduction. So yeah, the defensiveness is just really, really good. If you can survive a hit like that on 500 corruption with the relatively low amount of defensiveness that I have right now, really my chest and the shield are the only defensive items, and the chest, the shield isn't even really that defensive. Like I don't have a lot of health on all of my other gear, to be honest. Like there's no health here, there's no health here, there's no health here, there's obviously no health here, no health here. This, yeah, it gives me 140. There's no health here, a little bit of health here, little bit of health there. So like honestly, I'm not stacking a huge amount of defensiveness, and yet the tankiness of the build is so good that even though I'm not stacking a lot of defensiveness, I'm able to survive a hit like that at 500 corruption. So yeah, really, really happy with the defensiveness of the build, and I don't know how long that battle was just now. It felt like maybe 25 seconds, maybe. But yeah, it's really, really good. The fact that we can kill an Orobyss like that at 500 corruption is really good. And I will, as I'm moving through the corruption, like right now I'm at 586, I will obviously be streaming. So if you want to see higher corruption, the build doing higher corruption gameplay, if you're not happy with the build at 500, you can just check out my live stream, and I will be playing the build more as well, and pushing higher corruption and just improving the gear overall. But yeah, guys, I think that is it for today. If you've been able to stick around for almost 2 hours through the entire thing, then that's certainly commendable of you. I know most people will just click on the video, look for the link for the build planner, and then leave, which is totally fine. I do that myself sometimes if I completely understand the build that I'm looking at, you know. If it's like a relatively basic build, then like a void knight or something like that, which is a really basic build, then you don't need all of the explanations of the different mechanics, you know. But if you really want to understand the build and the theory crafting behind the build, then a longer video like this is certainly required. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for today. Thanks for watching. As always, if you like my informational content, if you find it helpful, hopefully you don't find it entertaining, because that is not my goal at all. But if you find it helpful, then you can head over to my Patreon, patreon.com/LFP. You can support me over there. It very much helps me. And you can also head over to my Nexus store if you either want to buy this game, or if you want to buy any of the cosmetic packs that are in the game. You can also find the cosmetic packs there. Where's the shop? Where is it? Over there. You can buy any of the cosmetic pack things or the game editions and stuff like that on the Nexus.gg store as well. And that also helps to benefit me, because I get a small percentage of the purchases. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. If you have any questions, you can ask them down below or catch me during a live stream. Thank you.